2, 1.
Welcome to the Brute Strength Podcast, where we explore strategies for training, competing, and well-being shared through experiences from some of the sharpest minds in the fitness space. Now, welcome your host, Micah Shoemaker.
Talked to Brandon for an hour today. How was MacFest?
Great. Super fun. Didn't like the drive so much. It's about almost 7 hours for me, but awesome event. Super fun. Tons of athletes, tons of good times to be had. Lots of media for an event that size, so it was fun. It was good.
That's what he said. He was like, there's like 14 media people there.
Yeah, it was about 1-to-1 ratio. Media, we each were assigned a single athlete. Stuck to him.
You know, speaking of media people, here was my deal at semis. I was at the MAC. Obviously, I saw you there. And then I was at Granny Games. And let me tell you, both those events, there was just about as many media people as there were butts and seats. I mean,
it's a deep ocean these days in the media scene. Anyone can grab a mic.
Well, so I was having a conversation with Tyler. What was his last name? Watkins?
Yeah.
Oh my
Z-score.
God! I just had him on the podcast. Yeah, I was going to say, you douchebag, you forgot his name. Anyways, so I was having a conversation with him, and we didn't catch this on the air. We had like an hour and a half off the air conversation, which I'm like, dude, let's just record this. This is good content. Okay. Anyways. You know, he said, he's like, man, I'm really seeing like a decline, not just in these competitions that are at the highest level, i.e. the semifinals, but in even local competitions. I mean, did you see that? I'm just curious, before we get to our, main course here, this is the appetizer. Did you see that in even MacFest this weekend? I mean, do you feel like the numbers were down? Was this your first year?
First year for sure.
I have no context.
Yeah, first year that I was there, but I would say I was surprised by the positive number of people that were there, which I definitely would agree that there seems to be a general decline in attendance or interest in CrossFit competitions. Definitely saw that through the North American semifinals this year. And then I think that's the reason Madrid didn't have a live stream, is to try to get people back into seats in the event instead of watching online. Speculation, but could be true. Seems right. Seems accurate.
Speaking of speculation, let's just go ahead and continue this train. I mean, while we're on there, specifically with the Dubai Championship, I have not had a chance to read Brian's article, and I'm sure it's fantastic. But since I have basically the next best thing on here,
Just couldn't be farther from the truth. Couldn't know less about that. But let's go. Let's see where this train goes.
I love it. Okay, so what do you know? So they de-affiliate from CrossFit, right? And they're now just back to the Dubai Fitness Championship, which is where, to be in all fairness, where they started. Do you know, what was the impetus behind that decision? And, is it just a lot of money to put CrossFit on your shit? And then, it's like, we're CrossFit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have no idea. But let's just think for a second. I've seen some comments about some worries, concerns with taking the license part off, because I'm not really sure all what that license entails. I would guess it's going to say CrossFit's like, you can put our name on the event if you check off this list of this medical staff, blah, 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 blah. So what I would guess is that Dubai wants to say, yeah, we don't really want to be restricted on what we have to do. We want to do our own event. We'll take care of it ourselves. And we also, I'm not really sure if there's any, I'm not really sure what that license entails, but that would be my guess. It's all about, one, money, and two, Dubai probably doesn't have a huge name recognition for CrossFit. I don't think the footprint in Dubai is that big, so they're probably like, it doesn't really matter for us to put the name CrossFit in it. Let's just call it the Fitness Championship, and let's roll with that, make a cool event, do whatever we want, go back to being the Dubai Championship that runs people in the ground, runs in the desert, So it makes sense to me from that standpoint. They're like, probably doesn't have a lot of name recognition there. Or as much,
interesting.
At least.
Do you know? I mean, I know you're involved with obviously well, let's see, Syndicate, and then you were involved with Mac. Do you have any idea what the qualifications you have to, or the hoops you have to jump through to be a semifinal? I'm just curious, like, if you know.
To be a semifinal?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, can anybody just bid to be a semifinal?
No idea.
Like, no idea? Man,
no idea.
This is really going downhill quick. I thought you were gonna be like a freaking CrossFit encyclopedia.
Far from that. I just talk. Don't have any no pages, just the front cover. It's a really thin book.
Look, folks, don't judge this book by its cover.
But you probably should.
Oh,
cover's blank.
But
genuine leather.
It's a stick
really nice.
Let me tell you, it feels good in the hand.
Yeah. People love grabbing it.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's got a lot of girth. Anyways, back on track. All right. So I was just curious because, look, it seems to me that sometimes, you get these events and, I've obviously heard, there's some of the writing on the wall. Heard the writing on the wall. That makes no sense. I've seen the writing on the wall.
It was with chalk, very super loud.
I've seen the writing on the wall here with some of the it's talking about speculation. Let's go and get to some speculation. I've seen the writing on the wall here with some of the semifinals that, and honestly, that's what I'm going to title this: Semifinals Going Away Forever? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Just clickbaity as hell. I have seen some stuff out there. I've heard some things, and I'm not going to name names. I don't think that's right. Otherwise, people will just never tell me things. So that semifinals is going to be no more, and maybe semifinals will be there, but the semifinals in the way that we know it, as of right now, is going to be no more. Would you like to confirm or deny this very speculatory allegation that I have just made?
I just run the Instagram accounts. But no, I have no comment. But speculation-wise, I couldn't know less, but it makes sense. I feel like that's what seems to be the buzz. People wanting to go back to the regional-esque days.
So when you say people, are we talking people fans? We talking people organizers? We talking people athletes? We talking people coaches? Like, what do you?
I've heard Pat Vellner talk about it. I've heard of athletes talk about they want to go back to standardize.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Dave Castro talk about it in some of his wrap-up weekly reports. So I feel like it's a general not consensus. So I'll say I've heard a lot of pundits, people like Brian, Chase and Bill especially as big figures in commentating on the broadcasts, have talked a lot about seemingly wanting to go back to standardized programming. I feel like it makes sense, right? From a sport standpoint, you want to grow the sport. It's kind of hard to follow whenever it doesn't really make sense. Why are people qualifying for this event through different workouts? It's like, okay, let's qualify for the NBA playoffs, but this team is going to do a 3-point competition. This team's going to do a dunk contest, or this division's going to do a dunk contest, but winners are going to go to the finals, and it's going to be great. So, I feel like it makes sense, but we'll see. We'll see if that comes out. I don't know who's going to tell us first. It'll probably be a Morning Chalk-Up article that comes out beforehand, before CrossFit says anything. Seems to be the trend, so.
I thought, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I thought CrossFit and the MCU were like kind of in bed together. You know what I'm saying? I really did, and I'm not trying to propagate false media here. False facts, because I feel like you can't say fake news anymore. It's too politicized. It's too weaponized. So I use something different. False facts. Sounds better. Good alliteration.
Better.
False facts.
Yeah,
false facts. I'm like, fuck that. False facts. Anyways, so
triple.
So I'm just like, triple. It rolls off the tongue well. But so this was my understanding that they were kind of in bed together. Like one would feed the other info, and it was this like slimy kind of relationship, which also now that we're on the subject, I mean, you have to wonder with the departure of Mr. Brian Friend himself, and who was the other guy? There's another guy.
Tommy Marquez.
Yeah, I mean, those are. Let me tell you, in the CrossFit world, that's like what's his face, who's always talking like a Skip Bayless. You know, I mean, that's like a big name, bro. It's a big name. And he leaves. So, talking about writing on the wall. I'm just saying, you start seeing these things. Is Morning Chocolate paying their people good? Are they, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just saying. You just have to wonder. You just have to wonder these things.
You do wonder these things, and you look at it, and you come up, and we all have our point of view, and it's kind of funny. I think when you have the general perspective, CrossFit's a pretty small pond, right? It's a little fishing pond. You got your neighborhood fishing pond, catch a pretty big bass. You're like, wow,
it's a toilet bowl.
Toilet bowl. Some would call it that, but so then it's whenever people take it to the next level, like they're like running. Fox News or CNN, and you're like, come on, it's a toilet bowl. It's a toilet bowl. And so it's just what I think. But, yeah, it is interesting seeing those guys leave. Obviously, I think two of the biggest voices and when it comes to external news or sources or anything when it comes to CrossFit, Tommy with Talking Elite, one of the biggest podcasts in the space, and then Brian, one of the biggest analysts and rising popularity, I think, especially over the past year. And so to see them leave definitely raises some questions. I have some questions as to, seems like they're really proud to do this type of breaking news type stories where they find out this little bit of information and they break it. And I think that's like what people hate about news outlets. And so it's like, why do you want to be a news outlet so bad? Is that the route to go? Is it to emulate the stuff that people don't like about big news? So, yeah, that's all I got.
Well, look, to your point. Look, this
great
is
comment
a great
section,
point.
And love the comment section. I know some people don't like it, but personally, I'm a big fan of the Morning Chalk-Up Instagram comments. Fun place.
Big fan. Actually, we're gonna while I'm giving you this next point, I'm gonna pull some of these up, and we're gonna read them. Because they're hilarious, by the way, especially the ones about Alabama. And since I live in Alabama, I feel like there is no one better to discuss the state of Alabama and the CrossFit Games coming here than myself. Sorry, Dex, you live in Gunnersville. You don't live in Birmingham, bro. So this is my turf. So I get to be the guy that talks about this. Now, here's the deal. Morning Chalk Up got this wrong. So for all of you listening, you're going to hear it from me first. So one, Birmingham is correct. I have someone that I know in the city.
Can you say breaking news before just to make it feel? I want to feel at home, like I'm in Morning Chalk-Up meeting or something. Yeah,
let's start it over. Ready? Breaking news. All right, there we go. So the Birmingham thing, absolutely correct. Yeah, I can confirm that is correct. I know a guy that would sign the papers, like that type of deal. Like it's 100%. I've known it for 6 weeks. So. That's number one. Number two, the Crossplex. Not correct. Will they use that because it does have an Olympic-sized pool in there? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly. But it's not going to be the Crossplex. Because if you look at how CrossFit from the conception, even back in Carson, had their kind of setup, their live setup, they've always had an outdoor kind of deal, and then they've had their indoor deal, right? So for those of you that have been to Madison, they've got the North Park and then they got the Coliseum, right? So it doesn't make sense. So if they are, this is assuming they're going to continue that trend, it would make sense for them to use most likely Legacy Arena, which would be the equivalent of the Coliseum, and then North Park would probably be something like Protective Stadium, which is currently where the collegiate team, the UAB Blazers, play. So, and to my knowledge, early August, ain't nobody playing football. So, anyways, that would be what I would, or my best educated guess would be. Now, here's the deal. I loved the fact that they put Crossplex out there. I think I told you this. I run a competition, and my competition is in Crossplex, Coliseum. So it's amazing. because I just rode that wave. I just put out all my marketing. It was like, hey, buddy, you can be or you can work out with CrossFit Games. It's like, sure. Anyways, so all this stuff about, the Crossplex, yeah, that's not going to be really 100% accurate. But I get it. They pulled it out there. It felt good, and that's all great too. So, anyways, I feel like you were typing, you were pecking away. I mean, you got something for me over there.
I just wanted to take a look at this.
I'll start reading these comments.
Just wanted to take a look at this Legacy Arena. Looks pretty nice to see hosting some NCAA stuff. But why you knew for 6 weeks and you didn't break the news? What's going on there? You just got high morals, or you just what's going on?
So I thought about it. Like, I thought about being the first guy and getting all the attention and, really hoeing for the eyeballs. But, I said, I'm not going to do that, because the person that told me really, like, it was kind of like a firsthand knowledge of this, because, like, you knew the person signing the paperwork type of deal. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to screw this dude. I value that he told me this. I value he trusts me. And I told some people in my very inner circle, and I think we even had some of this conversation. But I didn't want to post it to the world, and because then I just look like pouring chalk up. And it's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just didn't like it. But I'm curious. Like, even when we had the first conversation, what did you think about it? What did you think when they said, okay, hey, it's coming to Birmingham, Alabama?
Just makes sense to me, and I don't know about I wouldn't have specifically thought Birmingham, but city size, what they're looking at, what makes sense for CrossFit, makes perfect sense. There's no way they were ever going to go international, and if you thought that, then you probably just live international or just had crazy high hopes. Like, just think about it, the expenses of pulling the entire American-based CrossFit team overseas. Plus, Rogue is based in the United States. They ship 17 plus, 15 plus semi-trucks to the games full of equipment. Like, just think of all that expense. Suddenly, you're just adding plane tickets and freight for that entire thing to take it overseas. Was never going to happen, especially considering that the hope is that this is the restart of CrossFit as we know it. So they're going to play a safe bet. They know what works. They know Madison has worked since 2017. It's been a great host city that people have loved. It's where CrossFit can feel like it's taking over the city and feel special. Makes it feel like a bigger deal for fans, for athletes, for everyone watching. It just makes sense, makes CrossFit cool. That's all we want. We want CrossFit to be cool again. So we're taking it to Birmingham. I think it makes perfect sense. People are like, oh, why not Dallas? Like, Dallas sucks too. Like, if you think Birmingham sucks, Dallas sucks too. So, like, come on. I get it. They have an international airport. But, like, I think in 2021, there was almost no international fans, right? And it was still pretty full. So I don't think that's the biggest concern. And it's literally the same setup as Madison, from my understanding. You're taking a flight to Charlotte, to Houston, to somewhere from overseas, and then you take that connector flight to Birmingham or to Atlanta. So Atlanta, it makes sense. I don't know. I'm not that surprised. It's been working in Madison. I like that we're going to a new place. I think taking it fresh, kind of doing this tour style where we move around cities, I think is really cool. I almost think that this stint is maybe a little bit too long, but I get it for this stage where CrossFit is right now. They need a consistent place, because really what they're trying to do is, from my understanding, revamp. They're trying to get the CrossFit Games back to its former glory, trying to get CrossFit as a company back to its former glory. And the biggest thing coming from community, athletes, coaches, brands, is we just want consistency. So it makes sense to say, hey, we're going to be in Birmingham for 2024 to 2027. Allegedly, those are the dates. And that's what we're going to be. We're going to be there. This is what we're going to do. And so we can sell sponsorship, multi-year sponsorship packets, packets, deals. Take the deal with the city, hopefully make it sweeter for guaranteed those 4 years, right? 4 years. So makes sense to me. I don't think people should be that surprised. I think it's mainly the people are surprised and caught off guard and don't like it solely because CrossFit wasn't the one that announced it with some sexy announcement video with Justin Medeiros eating some biscuits and gravy or downing a gallon of sweet tea. Like, big opportunity missed. And I think if they had ran the narrative that way, the reception would have been completely different. And I don't think So that's my take. Not surprised.
one of my favorite comments on here is Birmingham is quite literally my least favorite city in the U.S. And how she qualifies this statement is, quote, and I'm a flight attendant. So I'm like, look, lady, I get it. You're a flight attendant. But to my knowledge of how flight attendants work is you're like staying like a night, 2 nights, maybe 3. Whoo, wow. Man, really going out, seeing the town there. Anyways, maybe you may even make it to the Civil Rights Museum. Wow. Anyways, people think that people in Birmingham don't wear shoes, don't have teeth, all talk like Forrest Gump, or just Dex Hopkins for that matter. And, they really don't. It's actually a pretty lovely place. I was talking to the cat over there at Coffee Wads and Pods because he had this whole thing on his podcast. Not his podcast. Well, maybe his podcast. I can't remember. It was on his story about how – hold on. I don't want to get this right because this is the shit that gets clipped on YouTube, and then I get called all these names because, the shit I say. So I'm actually going to be somewhat careful here about the the comments that I'm making. Oh, damn it. Okay. Anyways, I was looking at my messages. It went away. But the point is this. It was like it's clear that CrossFit doesn't care about the international community in light of this move. But to your point, and you know what? I didn't actually think about that particular point. Rogue sends 15, 16, 17, whatever, semi-trucks, tractor trailers, right, to this place.
18 wheels.
Known as Madison. 18 wheels, baby. Okay. Jay-Z, make a rap song about that. 18 wheels. All right. Come on, somebody. Anyways, right? Like, and so you're telling me that we're going to ship all this shit over here when people like Ram and like Gillette and all these other people are just pulling their marketing dollars right out of CrossFit. Like Dave went and so did all the marketing dollars. People, these companies don't give a shit about CrossFit. You know what they care about? Eyeballs. They care about the people that see their shit. And that's it. That's all they care about. Literally. That's it. You can say the partnerships and they really believe. No, they don't. If the juice ain't worth the squeeze, they out, baby. They squeezed out. And so that's what happened. All right. So all these marketing dollars go. Right now, do I think that things like Monster and all that stuff is great for the sport? Absolutely. Sure, I get it, Savan. You hate on them. You hate on them because it's got sugar. It's got bad shit in it. But you know what? No one cares. It's called money. Money makes the world go round and round and round, my friend. And until it doesn't, until we start using monopoly money, that's what the hell we're all going to be doing here. Is money. Money, baby. Show me the money. And I think that's really and truly from my inside knowledge of these people that made these deals, that's what Birmingham was able to give to the CrossFit Games. Birmingham recently held the World Games. I get it. You've probably never heard of that. You know what? Because I didn't either. It's coming to my city. I didn't even go. I'll be very honest with you because I'll just be straight. I didn't want to watch flag football. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to be kind of crude with this analogy, but it's like the sister. It's like the redheaded stepchild of the Olympics. All right? It's all the things that aren't in the Olympics. So I think that's a good description of what the World Games is.
That description is very Alabama. It's like your stepsister.
You have to talk in that accent the whole time.
You know what? Don't you get it? It's like your stepsister. It's what the World Game is like. It's like that redheaded stepsister you got.
So okay, look. So, however, a friend of mine, I was getting my hair cut. All right, and he was like, dude, I went to the World Games. I was like, oh, how was it? He was like, dude, it was badass. I watched 2 400-pound dudes, Asian dudes, slapping each other. I said, no shit. You got to show me this. He pulls up a video on his phone of 2 sumo wrestlers, and they're just going back and forth, slapping the shit out of each other. And this is an event at the World Games, folks. So if you think CrossFit looks stupid, let me tell you. You know what looks more stupid? 2 400 grown-ass men in diapers slapping each other. That looks stupid. But anyways, we had the World Games here, okay? So a lot of the infrastructure that is here or was provided for the World Games is a lot of the same infrastructure that the CrossFit Games can take advantage of. And I don't think people realize that stuff cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Again, it all comes around money. It's all about money, okay? And the fact that we're not realizing that it's all about the money is kind of a sad thing.
But Micah, it's all about athlete safety. That's number one.
Let me tell you, ain't nobody caring about an athlete's safety when it's 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit because the humidity is terrible. And look, Dex said it very well on that morning chalk up deal, the video. He said, football's been around a while, right? He goes, and if you want to look at some real scary stuff, you go look at the deaths and the strokes, the heat strokes specifically related to two-a-days in football in the South. It's terrible. Like it's a whole different thing. Like we invented dick in the dirt. You know that line? I mean that's real Alabama. Dick in the dirt. Yeah,
I've heard it.
There's a lot of that happening here. And let me tell you, that's what a lot of people are going to be feeling with that heat and humidity. It's not even close to anything anyone's ever experienced in Madison or Carson. Certainly not in Carson.
I have a theory, though, right?
Yeah.
We just talked about money.
Go ahead.
And we're talking about heat. We're talking about the athletes being hot. You know what you do when you're hot? You got to recover. When you're hot and you're humid, you got to recover. And you know what? There's a lot of brands out there looking to shell out some cash. They want to be the recovery center for Birmingham, Alabama. The hottest games ever. And we saved their life. We dipped them in a cold tub. A cold plunge, one might say. We put the athletes
saying those words.
In a
don't be saying
barrel
those words.
Of ice.
They're not paying us.
They're not yet.
They're not paying us.
Yet. And so you say athlete safety. I say money. I say look at the opportunities for these brands to save lives. I mean, what better advertisement? We saved the CrossFit Games lives. They were put out there in 104-degree heat, 85% humidity. We doused them in some cold water. We gave them some electrolytes. Look at them. They're still going. That's what I see.
The funniest thing is that people thought that the Monster waters that I had about 38 of every day at the game because it was hot were actually were not water. They were energy drinks. I'm like, man, these athletes are not getting done and chugging an energy drink. Anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, I see where you're coming from there, and I think there are some opportunities for that. But in terms of Birmingham, I think it's a great city. And look, it's not because it's not because of course you live here, you got to say that and all that. No, it's really not that. I lived in Raleigh for 5.5 years, and I love that city. I think Raleigh is a place that could reasonably host the CrossFit Games and would be great at it. But at the end of the day, certain cities, spoiler alert, cost more. It just is what it is. And Birmingham is well set up for it. They did a really good job with the World Games, which is a much larger scale, even though I was poking at it. It's a much larger scale and a lot more logistics than the CrossFit Games. The CrossFit Games is a peon compared to the World Games in terms of logistics. So really, it's going to be, in my estimation, a pretty seamless transition, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for it to grow out of here. Also, if you look at it, the Southeast, and fact check me on this. If I'm off on this, 89% of statistics are made up right on the spot. So, fact check me on this. Right? I believe firmly that the Southeast in particular is really a mecca for CrossFit. I would, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I would argue there's more gyms. Actually, Google this. Is there more gyms in the Southeast, CrossFit affiliates in the Southeast, than there is in other parts of, if you broke it up into the four corners of the U.S., I would argue, my argument would be, and I'm about to sound stupid if this is wrong, that the Southeast host majority of the CrossFit gyms. That's got to be accurate.
I just don't think that data's out there except for people at CrossFit. So unless they listen to it, then you sound right to me. I believe you.
All right, Brian Friend.
Someone
Call a friend. Phone a friend.
Sounds accurate.
But does that like logically though, like it makes more sense. If for nothing else, just climb it. Right? I don't know.
I just think it makes sense to go in a place that hasn't been touched by the CrossFit Games yet, a region. Right? We want to spread the methodology. That's a big thing that Don Fall, new CEO, has been talking about. Growth. They see CrossFit as a growth company. They want to grow it. So we're going to go to a place that's relatively untouched by the CrossFit Games, right? There was a regional back in the day, but taking it to a new region, getting new eyes on the sport, on the methodology. And also we're taking it to one of the most unhealthy states in the United States. And some people are like, oh, that's dumb. Why would we go somewhere like that? It's like, actually, it's like probably the main purpose of why we should take it somewhere like that. I think the CrossFit Games should be going to all the most unhealthy places in the world and setting up shop and saying, hey, look at this. This can change your life. Like, what better of a place to go? So
Mississippi's next.
Let's take it on a tour.
Well, really?
The obese tour.
Really? The obese
taking on a little fat tour around obesity. If you have higher obesity rates, you get the CrossFit Games.
I mean, look, there's going to be people, and you know this. And look, there's people in Madison that do this too, right? They're walking around with the Miller Lite in the left hand and a corn dog in the right hand. Okay? Look, they're double fisting hard. So don't tell me this bullshit. Oh, there's unfit people there and they're fat and shit. Like, look, bro, how do you think people go into boxes? Like, they're not Rich Froning is going into boxes. These are people that, you know, and we're poking at it, but like, let's pull back the onion here. There's people that legitimately need life change. And no, they're never going to be at the CrossFit Games, but my gosh, if they go, oh, this CrossFit things, man, these feats of strength are really awesome. These humans doing seemingly this ultra human thing is inspiring to me. You know what? Maybe I'm going to go sign up for my local affiliate, or, you know, maybe I'm going to go on a walk today. Wow, that's revolutionary.
I think it's even,
and people.
It's even a little bit simpler than that, right? We take the CrossFit Games somewhere, it's an entire community comes with it. So you talk to people at restaurants. You have all these CrossFit people in your restaurants for a week beforehand. You have all these people in your different hotels and stuff. You're having conversations. And so I think even bigger than like the fat person on the couch seeing the CrossFit Games and thinking, oh, that's what I want to go do. I want to get healthy. It's even just like bringing our community, infiltrating the city. And that's, I think, one of the big things about why it's important to have these cities that can hold and where we can have a really big footprint on the city. Because it's going to capture more of attention. It's going to be more meaningful. It's going to make a difference. And I think that's huge. It's going to bring dollar amount to local businesses. And I think it's more effective to do that in a smaller city like Birmingham or like Madison, rather than being in, you know, SoCal, where it's like, oh, the CrossFit Games are here. Don't know what that is. Or like no one even knows it's there. And so I think it's like we look at wanting to make impact. And I think CrossFit Games team is probably not considering this fact, but we're looking at it from an outside perspective of things that you don't consider when you're trying to make money. But we can look at that and say these are good things that are going to come from it, because we're not the ones that are putting up the money or trying to make money from it. So I'm not saying that CrossFit Games team is thinking about these things whenever they're like, oh, we can make a big impact in the community of Birmingham if we take the CrossFit Games there. They're probably not thinking about that. That's way down on the priority list, and it should be. But from our side, I think it's a great thing, and that's another cool reason. Like we were talking about, you know, bringing this thing and having people see these feats of strength and all these crazy things these athletes can do. But it's also just bringing in our community that we love, people from our local affiliates from all over the world, and to infiltrate the city for an entire week and hopefully make connections with locals through, you know, small businesses and things, and just being around in the city. So I think that's a positive thing. I think we'll stay probably in small cities forever. CrossFit is never going to get that big. And so I think this is where it's at, and this is where it's going to be at. Like, I think CrossFit will grow. I think there's a lot of hope right now with Don Fall. I think he's going to do great things. Seems to be adapting to a lot of good people and keeping good company around him. And so I think he'll lead the Games team back to some of its former glory. It's never going to get to be the Olympics. It's never going to be the Super Bowl. So cut your expectations. Sure. But I think that, yeah, it's going to be a great opportunity to make another impact in a city that potentially needs it more than other places in the world as far as getting people off the couch and into the box. And I think it's going to be great for that reason.
in the CBS interview I was telling you about, the people that came to my house, it was actually really weird. Like, so they DM me, right? And it's like, hey, I'm Dave from CBS. And I was like, okay, like this sounds like a fishing expedition, but all right. I'm Dave from CBS. We would like to interview you regarding the recent news of the CrossFit Games. I was like, oh, by the fake news outlet, Morning Choco. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right, Dave. So I called Dave. Yeah, me and Toby, that's his name. Me and Toby are down here, downtown, and we're just wondering where do you guys work out? He's thinking this is gonna be at like the Globo Gold Gym Fitness, and I said, well, Dave, we actually work out at the crib, at the house. So we have this thing called a Rogue affiliate downstairs, where Rogue took all my money, and I felt really good about it. So I bought all this stuff. He said, great, we're going to come over there. I said, all right. So I gave a stranger my address today. Yeah, casual. So Dave shows up with Toby about 35 minutes later, and we start filming this segment. And something that happened, and he was asking me, and you saying this, it started to resonate with me even more. He said, what can the people of Birmingham expect of these CrossFit people that are going to be here? These Aborigines, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like saying it like they were some, anyways. And I said, you know what, Dave? I said, the people that follow this stuff, and not just follow it, because that's what's so cool about CrossFit, is they don't just follow it. Like, they do it. They live it. They get after it. They like live the code type of deal, right? These are people that you and I would both want as neighbors. The guy or the gal that would come out and you have a flat tire and say, you know what? I'll pick this damn car up. I'll help you change this tire. Yeah. Or if you got your hands full, hey, let me get that gallon of 2% milk, or if you're CrossFitter, the oat milk. Like, I said, these are good people, Dave. I said, these are people that you and I would want as neighbors. I said, that's the people. And Toby was smiling. You know why Toby was smiling? Because let me tell you what, people like genuine ass people. And that resonates with people. And that's what I think about the CrossFit community. That's why CrossFit community is so dope, right? It's because they're just good ass people. They're good dudes. They're good girls. Women, I don't know. I'm going to get canceled for saying some shit like that. People don't want to be called girls or something. I don't know. Fuck it. Anyways. But you get my point, all right? That's what I think about the CrossFit community. They're good people. And I think there is nothing but good that's going to come from this deal. And all these people are going to get over it too. They're going to get over it. As we say down here, God willing, and the creek don't rise, and you don't have a heat stroke. That too, because that shit's real. But for real, people, let me tell you, if you need if you're listening to this podcast, okay, and now this is a year away or 2 years, whatever, because we got one more year, Madison. If you need some recommendations, like if you need to know the good wing shop to go to, or if you're looking to get your meat sweats on before you go get the actual sweats on, like, hit me up. I'll tell you all the good places. We got some good breweries here. I know you CrossFit people like to drink beer. Okay, it's great. I can recommend some stuff for you. If you're trying to go the paleo route, there's some of that here, though not as much, but there is some of that here. And if all else fails, we do have Publix down here, so you guys can go to Publix and get you some, some chicken thighs or something. That's
huge.
Yeah, huge, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, all in all, not to beat a dead horse anymore, I'm excited about it. It's a great move for CrossFit. And to your point, they're trying to rebrand themselves in multiple different ways. And I think the last couple of years they've had an identity crisis, and we're kind of seeing that play out, kind of like a reality TV show. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know what you're saying. They don't even know who they are, but we're finding our way. The door is opening.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm excited about the prospect of what what that looks like going forward. So, your best guess on the 2023 CrossFit season, what do you think it looks like?
My best guess, speculation, I think it's gonna be a consolidation of resources. Let's take it to some bare bones, and bring back some of the spread of the season. Let's reduce some of the factors and get back to doing a few things really well instead of trying to do too much. I think they're going to listen to the community wanting to be communicated with early. I think when we see this long deal with Birmingham, Alabama, I think that's what we can expect. Potentially the same with whatever the season comes and they announce how it's going to work. I think we'll see, hey, we're going to do this for a certain amount of time and we're going to stick with this for this many years. I think we'll see that. When it comes to consistency, I would guess, since we're already seeing the CrossFit where it's going to be till 2027, I think that's what we can expect. And I think we can expect standardized across the board. But who knows? If I was CrossFit, I would have seen the morning chalk up announce Birmingham and been like, all right, we're going somewhere else. So who knows? But that's what I would have done. Maybe it's an ego thing, but I would have been like, morning chalk released it. Yeah, we're going to Dallas.
I don't think everything's bigger in Texas, boy.
Yeah. I love Texas. And you know what I love about Texas? International Airport. They got them planes. They fly over the seas. Not just from Alabama to Charlotte and Houston, where it's all hot and sweaty. You can get all the way from the Queen's Palace directly into nice sliding on the runway down at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Ain't nothing better than a little touch of England on our little state of Texas.
A little touch of England.
God save the Queen and the King.
Man, that'll get you right whenever you're listening to this. Someone's on a fucking train right now and listen to that, and the guy or gal next to him is looking at him like, "Yo, you okay? You've got the Cookie Monster in your ears. What's going on?" Anyways, I like all that. I'm with you. I think we see some consolidation. CrossFit bringing it back under the umbrella, taking it away from the privatized semifinals that we know of now, taking it back to more, still calling it semis, just taking it back to that more regional feel where CrossFit's running them, CrossFit's programming them, blah 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 blah. And from what I have heard, the people that did regionals consistently, or I should say competed in regionals consistently, said it was one of the best run experiences that they've experienced from CrossFit. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but people that, like I said, were perennials there said it was a really good experience. So I don't know. I think it might make sense, and I do think that there needs to be standardized testing, whether that's going to be the privatized events or whether that's CrossFit taking them back. Like, we can't do this. Everybody does their own thing type of deal. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. And their attempt to go, two events will get us.
That'll be good.
Terrible.
You climb a rope, lift the weights. That's all you need to do. Whatever else you guys want to do, you want to push a torque. You want to play around with some flip sleds on the turf field. Play around with that flip sled. Get the money. Get that money.
Get the money,
boys. But yeah, I think we're gonna see. Basically, I think the theme is we're going back to community. Well, the theme is we're trying to make money first. From the outside, though, I think CrossFit Games has lost a little of its leading star in the light of this is the CrossFit community's pinnacle Woodstock event. And I think we've kind of tried to make it, we want to professionalize the sport of CrossFit. It's like, well, sure, I don't know what that means to you, but, the goal here is to save people's lives and to get them on the life rafts of CrossFit affiliates. That's, and have fun along the ways. be competitive, race against the clock. And so I think we're going to see try to pin a North Star of community focus. And so I think, that's why I think people like the regionals is it got the local affiliates behind the event, supporting their local athletes. And I think that's what's a lot more special. We just need to be realistic. It's a small community, CrossFit overall, CrossFit, Big C CrossFit, small community. And so just be realistic. It's going to grow, but it's never going to be that massive. So don't forget about your roots. Don't forget about your roots. And I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see a return to some of our roots. Not all good stuff. We tried a lot of stuff, and we just need to strip back. Take what worked in the past, really solidify it, and grow from that.
Maybe we can get like a Luke Bryan concert in there too.
And maybe we can get a little Parker McCollum, but put that a little lower on make a little Zach Brown band. You know what I'm saying? A little.
But we probably can't afford Zach Brown band, so we're just gonna have Zach Brown
acoustic live. But that would be really nice. I was raised up beneath the shade of a Georgia pine. And Zach Brown, sweet tea pecan pie, homemade wine.
This man's on a roll.
Let's don't put it too far up that priority list. You already got internet, like right above international flights and international people. Just above that is getting the Zach Brown band concert.
That's amazing, dude. Thank you for doing this. This was a blast. This was so much fun, and if hopefully the people listening enjoyed it. I sure as hell. This is one of the most fun conversations I've had in a long time, and I sincerely hope we can do it again.
Thanks for having me. It was entertaining.
Yeah, I hope you look if the people like it, let us know. Leave a review. Do the things. Subscribe on I don't even know what you do on podcasts. Like and review. No, that's not what you do. Anyways, just give me some stars, please, so I can continue to do this and people will pay me. That's all. That's all we need to do. Anyways, thank you again. Appreciate you. And we'll do it again real soon, man.
Cheers.
Hope you have a good one.
Thanks for listening to Brute Strength Podcast. As always, you can head over to brutestrengthtraining.com to connect with us and access the links and resources mentioned in this podcast. That's brutestrengthtraining.com for exclusive content and giveaways just for you, our podcast listeners. Consider subscribing so you never miss out. That's all for this episode. See you next time.